gender issues, agriculture, the environment, and the natural resources. We have now exploded the myth that we cannot trade among ourselves because we produce a similar type of product. Because you have been saying that, look, European countries produce almost similar products, but they trade among themselves. So why not African countries? And that myth has now been exploded. Within our own East African community, this extends to include cross-listing of our stock exchanges. Infrastructural challenges in Africa have been huge, and combined public and private sector investments amounted to $75 billion in 2010, 15% of the emerging markets total. $25 billion is invested annually in transport, $20 billion in energy, $22 billion in telecoms, and $8 billion in water and sanitation. Nevertheless, Africa's power provision, road and rail density, and supply of basic domestic services remain low compared with the global average. The World Bank estimates that Africa's annual infrastructure funding deficit stands at $50 billion US. And this is where outstanding opportunities exist for the private sector. In the past decade alone, private sector investment in telecoms in sub-Saharan Africa leapt to $45.6 billion. This was mainly in mobile telephony, catering for the huge and rapid jump in the number of mobile cellular subscribers from 4 million to 259 million. This growth has largely been in the voice traffic, but the potential for data traffic is also enormous. To facilitate realizing this potential, East and Southern Africa region has 3 submarine cables, that is the SEACOM, the TEAMS, and the EC. The West African region has 2 submarine cables, the GLOW-1 and MAIN-1, with the 2 more expected, that is RC and WACS. It is estimated that a 10% growth in the use of mobile telephony directly yields a 2% growth in the GDP. As mobile telephony has become affordable to the majority, with some 60% of people in Africa now owning a cell phone, its impact on other sectors such as banking, medicine, agriculture has snowballed. In particular, virtual banks such as M-Pesa in Kenya, MAP in Uganda, and Visit in South Africa are now part of the daily lives of tens of millions of people. The cost of bandwidth provision continues to decline, and increased access to affordable broadband is transforming Africa's economic and social landscape. Various social and economic ecosystems are springing up as African entrepreneurs become better connected within the continent and outside. Institutions of higher learning can also enjoy greater interaction with their peers worldwide, while democracy is benefiting from political networks able to communicate and organize more effectively. Very many barriers are being broken down, all for the better. In agriculture, which occupies 80% of the population, the use of information and communication technologies is yielding unprecedented benefits. An African farmer with a cell phone has direct access to real-time market information on the subjects ranging from new farm technologies to quality seeds, the weather, and the cost of inputs. Speedy extension services can be offered through dedicated hotlines, while the increased use of digitization of land records improves the security of tenure and the bankability of agricultural projects. Africa's agricultural potential ranges from the input end to value addition through the processing. But the continent's use of agricultural machinery, fertilizers, and pesticides, and commercial seeds is very low compared with the global average. In addition, the virtual issue of food security requires the mainstreaming of the biotechnology with increased public awareness to address fears concerning health-related issues, overdependence on foreign supplies, and the emergence of herbicide-resistant weeds. Better seed varieties that are more resistant to pests are critical, along with the vitamin-rich and drought-resistant crop varieties. I want to challenge you to look beyond investment in commodities, particularly those related to the extractive industry. I know that with the 10% of the world's oil reserves, 40% of its gold, and 80% of its chromium and platinum group metals, combined with a strong global demand for gas and coal, Africa offers commodity opportunities that are very tempting. But over time, less and less wealth is generated from the commodities, even when more and more are produced. Knowledge-based economies produce more wealth faster, using fewer people. Services today account for more than 60% of the global economy, compared with 4% 40 years ago. At that time, agriculture accounted for 30% of the global economy. Today, that figure stands at just 4%. Africa offers a great promise for excellent returns from knowledge-based investments. It has a young population, more than 500 million people of working age, many of them well-educated, and this figure is projected to grow to 1.1 billion in the next 3 decades. As this group becomes more urbanized, discretionary spending power will equally grow. Present estimates show that African households spend in excess of $900 billion annually. More than 50% of households are projected to earn more than $5,000 per annum by 2020, with spending projected to grow to $1.4 trillion in 2020 if the continent's GDP continues to grow at 5% per annum. Africa's consumption market is growing 3 times as fast as that of the OECD countries, including for non-food items such as housing, education, health, telecoms, and other utilities, banking, and consumer goods. There are also excellent opportunities in networking with and funding African researchers and entrepreneurs. There's no reason why breakthrough knowledge cannot come from Africa if it is supported by joint government and private sector training and financial assistance programs. As a good example, the phenomenon of virtual banks is entirely African, yet it offers a banking platform that has the potential to redefine retail banking on a global scale. Africa's new wealth should be measured not by quantities of commodities produced, but by how many patents are generated on the continent. This means that Africa must invest more in IT, in infrastructure, and in education. The latter is vital. Exporting more value-added goods and services than commodities is only achievable by increasing investment in education.